Welcome to Metric Hub. Today I'm going to do a revision on Office Practice N5. On Office Practice N5, right? So it will be a full paper revision. So I'm going to explain shortly, right? So that I'll be able to manage the time, right? So let's go to question 1.1. Various options are given as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to the question number. Right, 1.11. A supply of sea transport in South Africa is, that's what you call the portnet. The portnet. Right. The portnet. The supply of what? Of sea transport. Supply of sea transport in South Africa. It's a portnet. Let's go to 1.12. A person who issues a check is a drawer. A person who receives is the drawee. This is the receiver. Right. Let's go to 1.13. Information listed on the dispatched article is the name of the person, of the sender, and also the address of the sender. So the answer is A and C. A and C. They are applicable. Right. So let's go to 1.14. A check crossing that is not transferable is what you call a restricted. It is restricted crossing. It is a restricted crossing. You cannot be able to transfer it. Right. Let's go to 1.15. Which one of the following is not? Which one of the following is not a department of business? 1.15. 1.15. Which one of the following is not a department of a business? Purchase, we have a department of purchase, sales department, production, but we don't have a department of income. We don't have what we call an income department, right? So let's go to 1.16. Visitor card and visitors register are used to, right, not to welcome visitor, not to count visitor, but to identify a visitor, which is C, right? It is used to identify visitors. It is used to identify visitors, right? So let's move on to the next question. The next question, which is 1.17. An office layout where employees are allocated in a large open area. That's what you call an open plan layout, whereby employees are allocated in a large open area. That's what you call an open plan. Right, let's go to 1.18. A document accompanying transported goods is a document accompanying transported goods is this is what you call a delivery note. A delivery note. B. Right. 1.19. A document that gives a traveler permission to enter a country and stay there for a certain period. That's what you call a what? A visa. A visa. Right. So let's go to 1.10. This serves as a proof of payment. Right. A proof of payment is a what? A receipt. A receipt serves as a what? As a proof of payment. Right. Let's move on to the next question. Question 1.2. Choose a term from column B that matches a term in column A. Write only the letter A to J next to the question number. Right. So 1.21, to determine exactly when a relevant task should be finished. That's what you call a time management. Time management. Time management. Which is J. Time management, which is J. Right. 1.22, postponement of tasks and decisions. That's what we call time wasters. Time wasters. Time wasters. Which is C. 1.23, observing and ensuring that subordinates complete their task. That's what you call monitoring. When you monitor. Monitor, which is B. B. Let's go to 1.24. Links investors to entrepreneurs. That's a JobX Stock Exchange, which is A. JobX Stock Exchange links investors to entrepreneurs. 1.25. The money of a country in the form of notes and coins. That's what we call a currency. A currency, which is E. A currency. Right. Let's move on to 1.26. The search for effective furniture for an office. That's what you call ergonomics. Ergonomics, which is D. Right. Let's move on to 1.27. Process through which a person willingly moves towards achieving a goal. That's what you call motivation. Motivation, which is I. Right. 1.8 is 1.28. Proportional ownership of an enterprise. Those are what you call shares. Shares. Right. And then 1.29 takes place between persons of diverse levels of organization. That's what you call diagonal communication, which is G. Diagonal communication, which is G. Right. And then lastly, 1.210, amount the insurer demands from the insured. That's what you call a premium. Premium. So premiums are normally paid on a monthly basis. Right. Let's go to 1.3. Choose the correct word from those given in brackets. Write only the word next to the question number. Right. 1.31. A policy, the rule and regulations of behavior. That's true. Is the rule and regulations of behavior. 1.32. Dash are the documents that are attached to a letter. That's what we call annexure. Annexure is a document that is attached to a letter. At 1.33 is an office layout where people are doing related work are located in one room. That's what you call an open plan. Right. Let's move to the next question. Right. The primary function of the JobX Stock Exchange is to raise primary capital, not to lend money to the directors. Not to lend money to the directors, but to raise money for capital. It's not money for lending money to the directors, but to raise primary capital, right? Let's go to 1.35. Ergonomics is a science that adapts the office to suit the worker, right? That's the correct answer. The office to suit the worker, not the worker to suit the office. Right, let's go to 1.36. The petty cashier receives an amount of money at the beginning of a period and pays out amounts as required. At a certain stage, usually at the end of the month, the amount should be replenished again. This is what you call restoring the impressed amount. Restoring the impressed amount. Right. Let's go to 1.37. Insurance works on the principle that a large number of people from a pool pays in premiums for a specific risk. That's what you call premiums, not installments. Right. Let's go to 1.38. Transmission of message by means of his or her computer. That's what you call electronic mail. That's what you call electronic mail. Right. And then 1.39, a memorandum is used to send. A memorandum is an internal, ne? An internal media used to send internal notices. A memorandum is an internal media of communication. Right. Let's go to 1.310. Dash ventilation is when air enters the room through air conditioners. That's what you call an artificial ventilation. Artificial ventilation. Right. Let's move on to section B, whereby you're supposed to answer 5 questions out of 6. Right. So I'm going to answer all the questions, right, for the sake of revision. Right. Let's go to question 2.1. Define what is a visa. Define the word visa. Define the word visa. 2.1. So visa is the permission given to a traveler to enter a country and stay in it for a specific period of time, or for a certain period of time. So visa is a permission given to a traveler to enter a country, to enter a country and stay in it for a certain period. That's what you call a visa. That's what you call a visa. 2.2. 2.2. 2.2. State 5 characteristics of internal males. 35 characteristics of internal males. Right, so we're going to state characteristics of internal males. These include 1, it is in the form of instructions or reports or short messages. reports, and short messages. Right. So, right, right. Another characteristic is um, internal emails. Internal emails or memorandums are done in duplicates. Duplicates. No introduction. No address. There's no address. There's no introduction. And also it is usually addressed from somebody to somebody. To somebody. Let's move on to 1.3, 2.3, 2.3, 2.3. Name 5 types of insurance. Name 5 types of insurance. So this includes, we have what we call life insurance. We have what we call fidelity insurance. We have what we call accident insurance. Travel insurance. As well as life insurance. We also have accident, fidelity, etc. So these are the types of insurance that an organization would have. Let's move on to question 2.4. State 6 guidelines that must be followed when fire breaks out. Guidelines. Guidelines to be followed when fire breaks out. Right. So this includes 1, ensure that all employees are safe, right, by doing a roll call. So first you need to activate the alarm. You need to activate the alarm to inform employees that there is fire. Right. 2, you need to use the fire extinguishers. right, to minimize the fire. You are supposed to, you can also use water. Can also be used, right? You need to evacuate the building. You need to evacuate the building. You need to evacuate the building. 5. You're supposed to do a roll call. All right, so that you know that everyone is safe or who is trapped, right? And then do not use lifts. Instead, use stairways. Otherwise, one will be trapped. Right. And also, you're supposed to help disabled people first. You're supposed to help disabled first, and then lastly, crawl along the floor. Crawl along floor. Right. So let's go to the next question, which is question 3. Question 3, 3.1. Explain the difference between compulsory and non-compulsory wage deductions. Right. Compulsory deductions are those deductions that the employer is compelled by the law to deduct from the employee's wage. Deductions that the employer is compelled by law to deduct from a person's wage or salary. So this include the pension fund, the UIF, unemployment fund. Okay. So let's answer none. We want to explain what are non-compulsory. Non-compulsory deductions. Right. So non-compulsory deductions are those deductions which the employer is not compelled by law to deduct. They're not compelled by law to deduct. So let's move on to question 3.2. Question 3.2. Question 3.2. Right. What are the reasons for keeping wage records? Right. So there are many reasons for keeping wage records. Right. One of the reason is to ensure that the payment is made to the correct person. Is made to the correct person. True. To ensure that all employees receive the correct amount that they are entitled to according to the contract. Receive the correct amount. As prescribed by law. Right. And also, wage records are used to ensure that all deductions from salary or wages and all contributions are paid over correctly to the correct administrators. Ensure that all deductions from salaries and wages and all contributions are paid to the correct administrator. Paid to the correct administrators. Right. And also to ensure that the correct compulsory and non-compulsory deductions are made from the payment packages. Right. As well as to ensure that all payments and transactions are legal and verified. Right. So let's move on to 3.3. Networks are established when the computer of a company are linked together. State 4 types of networks. Right. So we're going to state types of networks. We're going to list types of networks. Right. We have what we call a local area network. It's campus area network. As well as wide area network. Lastly, metropolitan area network. Metropolitan area network. Right, let's move on to question 3.4. Question 3.4, whereby they explain the difference between savings account and current account. Right? So a saving account, you can find that uh, uh, in a saving account, money can be deposited and withdrawn over the counter of the bank, right? By completing a what? Deposit or withdrawal slip, right? Nowadays, we are now using ATM. You can just go and deposit and also withdraw, right? So you can find that when you're using saving account, overdraft facilities are not available, right? They are not available. And then interest according to the type of what? Of account is earned. You can earn interest on daily balances of the account, right? And then the fees charged for every transaction is lower than for a current what? Account, right? And then you can find that when you're using a saving account, the account can be linked to other accounts, right? And also money can be transferred between this account to another accounts, right? And also through the ATM, we can find that money can be deposited or withdrawn 24 hours a day, right? And also a statement can be obtained often as required when you're using a what? A savings account, right? So let's talk about the current account. Current account, you can find that when you are a current account holder, right? Right. It can be used to what? To deposit money, so for example, salaries into the check account and withdraw money with a check. And then a credit balance on the account earns a small interest, while high interest is charged when the account is overdrawn. Right. So the bank charges a fee called bank charges to operate a client's account. Right. So normally a current account is used as a safe place to deposit money and also to make payments by check, especially in the cashless society like where we are going, right? And also it is used for transferring money to apply for things by means of a debit order, and also it is used to borrow money by means of an overdraft, right? Let's go to question 3.5. Define insurance. Insurance is a contract where the insurer promises, right, against the payment of a premium to reimburse any damage suffered by the insured as a result of a specific incident, right? So there's an insurer and the insurer, the insured and the insurer. So it's a contract between the insured and the insurer, whereby the insurer will promise, right, against the payment of a premium, right, to pay for any damage suffered by the insured as a result of a specific incident, right? That's what you call insurance. Insurance, right? Let's go to question 4, right? Question 4. Um, choose a description from column B that matches a description in column A at 4.11. Sea transport. City-Bus transport, you call it a portnet. It is a portnet, right? Courier services, courier services, courier, you know courier. We have PAX, right? PIX, right? That's a what? A, carrier service, right? 4.13 air transport. We have what we call SAA, which is South African Airport, right? Which is the road transport, right? A road transport is what you call in autonet, right? 4.15 rail transport. That's what you call a what? A SPONET, right? A SPONET, which is A. Which is A. So let's go to 4.2. 4.2. Discuss factors you would take into consideration when choosing furniture for your office, right? So here we are going to talk about factors to consider, right? When choosing furniture in an office, right? 4.2, 4.2. So we should consider how easy to clean. How easy to clean, right? Is it easy to clean? And also not to be too heavy. And also supposed to contribute to the safety. Contribute to the safety and comfort. The furniture must contribute to the safety and comfort of the workers. Right. Another factor to consider is the furniture must have sufficient working and storing space. Sufficient working and storing space. Right. And also, it's supposed to be of a high quality. Supposed to be of a high quality. So as you know that cheap furniture is not durable, right? Not durable, right? Right. Right. So it must fit in the existing furniture and equipment in the office. It must fit in. It must fit in the existing. It must fit in the existing furniture. Right. And lastly, uh, it should be chosen with great care. the issues and with great care. Let's go to 4.3. Neatness in the office is vital for the image of any organization. Briefly discuss 5 guidelines you would implement to ensure this workplace. Right. So here we are going to discuss guidelines to implement a clean workplace. Right. 4.3. Should be neat and tidy. The office should be neat and tidy. 2. The workstation should be clean. The workstation should be clean, dusted, and kept tidy. Right. And also must be free from unpleasant smells. Right. And also, no smoking is allowed. You're not supposed to smoke. Right. No smoking is allowed. In the workstation. And then the documents must be clean. The documents must be always clean and neat. Right. Let's move on to question 4.4. Define the following. Right. Communication. Communication is a two-way process whereby the sender transmits a message through a channel to the receiver, who in turn gives a feedback. Right. That's one. And or we can say it is the verbal and non-verbal sharing of information. The verbal and non-verbal sharing of information. That is also true, correct. Right. What is the desk organizer? Desk organizer are files for different tasks or topics in which all the information relevant to that topic is placed. Right. So such an organizer helps to keep things together so that a complete file with all available information can be given over to a person who must do the task. Right. What about a premium? A premium is a monthly amount which a person who seeks insurance or cover for a risk must pay to the insurance company. That's what you call a premium. Money that the insured pays on a monthly basis to the insurance company. Let's go to 4.44, dual diary system. A dual diary system, it is when the management assistants and the senior each have their own diary, but both contain basically the same information. That's what we call dual diary system. When the management assistant and the senior each have their own diary, but both contain basically the same information, right? Let's go to question 5. State 7 ways to properly and effectively receive visitors, right? Ways to properly receive visitors. 5.1, you're supposed to be friendly, be friendly, and make sure that you give your full attention, give them full attention. 3, you're supposed to quickly assess the situation. You quickly assess the situation. Right. You're supposed to use the correct approach. Right. You're supposed to ask the necessary or correct questions. Ask necessary or correct questions. Right. You're supposed to maintain control of the situation. And you're supposed to control the visitor. Control the visitor. You're supposed to control the visitor. Right. So let's move on to 5.2. 5.2. Explain 5 ways how you act during a hostage keeping incident. Right. You're supposed to stay calm. Stay calm. Right. And you can even try to calm other victims. 2, you're supposed not to be stubborn. Do not be stubborn. 3, do not try to be a hero. Do not try to be a hero at all. Right. And also take note of details like the faces, the voice, the accent, the marks, the scars. Such as faces, the scars, the voices, etc., the accent, etc. If you are kidnapped or moved, try to locate the place. But if you are kidnapped or moved, Try to locate the place. Try to locate the place. Right. Did you locate the place? Right. So that you can point it out to the police afterwards. Right. Let's go to 5.3. State 4 guidelines. So 5 guidelines to be followed when a management assistant accompanies a manager on a business trip. Right. 5.3. Right. The management assistant must take care of the routine tasks. Right. Supposed to take care of the routine tasks, which are typing, right, and also even act as an interpreter, as well as uh, make arrangements and reservations. You're supposed to, they are responsible for arranging a function, also responsible for selecting outfits to be taken on the trip. Right. As well as you're supposed to you're supposed to respect the manager's supposed to respect the manager's privacy, as well as to maintain strictly professional relationship with the manager. Supposed to strictly maintain a professional relationship with the manager. In other words, you're supposed to, or she's supposed to make sure that avoid any embarrassing situations. Right. So let's move on to question 5.4. A good management means making good decisions. Discuss 4 steps you would follow when making decisions. Right. Steps in decision making. 5.4. Right. 1, you need to investigate and analyze the situation. Investigate. You need to investigate and analyze the situation. And then after that, you then formulate the real problem. You need to say you're supposed to confirm the problem. 3, you then find possible solutions. Step number 4, you evaluate the evaluate the solutions thoroughly. 5, you choose the correct situation. Solution, sorry. You choose the correct solution. And lastly, you then implement the decision. You implement the decision. Right. Let's move on to question 6. Question 6. Name 4 functions of management. Functions of accounting. Name the 4 functions of management. 5.5. All right. So functions of management, we can talk about block, which is P for planning, O for leading, O for organizing, and C for controlling. Block, abbreviation for management functions. Block, an abbreviation for management functions. Abbreviation for management function. Right. So let's move on to 6.2. State 8 time wasters in an office. Time wasters includes spending most of their time on a telephone conversation, gossiping, when you are having a crisis at work, when you lack planning, when you try to do much, you do too much. When you are trying to do too much, right? And also doing unnecessary tasks. For example, cleaning your desk during working periods. That's an unnecessary task. That's an unnecessary task. Right. And also an unorganized manage. It's also a time an unorganized manage. It's also a time waster. Lastly, redoing work. Redoing work. It is also a what? A time waster. Right. So let's go to 6.3. As a management assistant, it is your responsibility to motivate juniors to do their best at all times. Name 6 ways in which the management assistant can motivate workers. Motivation. How can the management assistant motivate juniors? Right. Ways of motivating workers. Ways of motivating workers. Right. 6.3. Right. 1. Encourage self-confidence in employees by giving them challenging work. 2. Give them responsibilities. Give them encouragement. Encourage them to accept responsibilities. Accept responsibilities. And also teach them to be effective. Teach them to be effective. And also acknowledge work well done. Acknowledge work well done. Acknowledge work well done. 5. Identify talents. Identify talents among employees. and create opportunities. Create opportunities and create opportunities for, for innovation. Lastly, determine clear goals. Determine clear goals. Determine clear goals and develop vision of what is to be achieved. Right. Let's move on to question 4.6.4. Define a bank overdraft. A bank overdraft, it is when you withdraw more than what is in your account. Right. So it is permitted when you are a current account holder. So when a current holder, when a current account holder withdraws more than what is in his account, call it an overdraft. Right. Let's go to 7. Question 7. 7.1. A good teamwork in a company starts with a shared understanding of the importance of the goals of the enterprise or of the company. Briefly discuss 5 benefits of teamwork and cooperation in an organization. Right. Benefits of what? Of teamwork. Benefits of teamwork in an organization. 1. Productivity increases or improves. And profit increases. But when there is cooperation, when there is teamwork, absenteeism is reduced. Labor turnover is also reduced. Right? And also motivation increases. Right. And then we can find that good interpersonal relationships, good interpersonal relationships good interpersonal relationships at work. Right, let's move on to 7.2. Discuss the ideal office under the following headings. Lighting. Right. So the quality of light in the office deserves a great deal of attention as eye strain counteracts productivity. You can find that if there's no proper electricity or lighting, it also affects productivity. Right. Ventilation, sufficient ventilation and temperature control should be provided. Sometimes in case maybe the environment does not offer sufficient uh, temperature, they're supposed to install air cons, right? Artificial ventilation. Like temperature, the room temperature is influenced by weather conditions, right? But in case of air cons, we find that we can be able to what? To tune the temperature that we desire, right? With an artificial what? Ventilation. Right. Let's move on to the next question. Noise. So we're saying the office should be situated away from sources of noise. Supposed to be situated away from noise sources. Color. So there are colors that can create a specific atmosphere. For example, a warm and cheerful, or a cool and calming uh, atmosphere. Right. Let's move on to the last question. 7.3. Discuss the importance of effective communication. Right. When communication is effective within a workplace, right, productivity increases. And also you can find that uh, promotes unity. Effective communication promotes unity at work among staff members. It motivates staff and then you can also find that um, effective communication also promotes a better understanding. Promotes a better understanding of the organization. And also, it promotes a well organized working environment. New environment. Right. So that's it for today. Thank you for your time. Wish you the best in your coming exams. Have a good day.